So, ladies and gentlemen, the long-anticipated banned and restricted announcement is here. There have been so much discussions. There's been so much talk about what should get banned, what are they going to hit in Gravy Bones, and now we finally got it. We finally got our answer. So this is pretty big in terms of ban list. So let's go through each one by one. Gonna just jump into the cards because that's what I care about most. So first of all, Bonds of Agony. I'm a little bit surprised about this. Bonds of Agony has really felt like a core staple to the assassin class, and a core like payoff card, at least damage wise and at least like pushing disruption wise. I'm not upset. I'm totally fine with this, but it's just a bit surprising to me. So it says, Bonds of Agony was intended to reward Assassin for taking on a somewhat challenging quest of deploying multiple attack reactions on the same chain link, and in turn giving Assassin's opponents a difficult defending decision. Both these propositions have begun to break down as the Assassin card pool has expanded. Definitely fair. The defending decisions around Bonds of Agony when Arachne slipped through the cracks starts the turn with it alongside a full grip of cards are simply impossible. There's almost no counterplay, there's almost no outs. Over defend and Slippy moves on to the next chain link and mauls you. Under defend and you're taking 12 plus damage and maybe losing your most important cards. With Take Up the Mantle in the mix, this decision is one theoretically face on a vast majority of turns. In the game, it simply feels unfair. And I absolutely agree with this. I think when New came out, in her deck, Bonds of Agony was definitely disruptive and definitely hurt, but I don't think she had enough oomph to make it really feel unfair. Like, yes, she'd send Bonds, she'd have a big turn, take one card from your hand, but usually it was like a reasonable amount of damage, and you could just swing back with something else, or still have a decent turn. With Slippy, it's like, yeah, you can do that, and potentially something else, or a Codex, or another thing, basically for free. You don't have to have the added cost of breaking one of your equipment, or having a certain attack reaction. It's just always there, so you always just, it feels stronger with Slippy just because of his hero ability, and I can definitely see how it's gotten to a point of feeling very unfair. Pair this with Slippy's win rate that sits just below the problematic threshold, and the fact that the Assassin card pool, like all card pools, will continue to add more powerful options as time goes on, and therefore more profitably and reliably find the 3 reactions to trigger Bonds of Agony, and it has become clear that it's time to slightly scale down Assassin's power level. I absolutely agree. Assassins, clearly Brygo really loves his Assassins, and I can definitely, given that they are a necessary evil in terms of needing some sort of disruption and needing some sort of like sneaky class, so you can't just like block 6 and you're fine. They are going to be like, there's going to be times where they're a bit harder, so I appreciate them bringing down the power level now, definitely. As it is true of every banned card on this list, the goal here is not to destroy Slippy's win rate, but the time has come to take steps to mitigate the damned if you do, damned if you don't play experience, and along the way, get Slippy back to winning at a safer clip. Absolutely. So I do like the I do like that they're making their intentions very clear. They're not trying to like ruin Slippy. They're fine with Slippy being good. They're fine with Slippy being, a meta threat. But they don't want turns where it's like there's nothing you can do, which I can definitely see. There was times where, for Bonds at least, it was just like miserable, and it really felt like there was just nothing that could be done. Okay, Golden Tipple, red and yellow. This one, as much as I thought that they were going to ban 6, I did think that 6 was a stretch, simply because of how like necessary it is to Gravy's game plan and to the game plan of like, well, not as necessarily for Marlin, but like Tipple felt like the quintessential added value, added power card for pirates. Like, it basically gave you cards, it easily gave you gold, it easily gave you what you needed. So it's very surprising that they're banning 6. In my 30 years of TCGs, I struggled to find an analog for the Gravy Bones experience. When we are analyzing whether a deck is warping balance or performing at a statistically unacceptable rates, we are necessarily driven by data. If win rates tell us a deck is too strong, we've got to respect the evidence. Absolutely. But what happens when almost everyone is positive a deck is too good, but the data tells a completely different story? Well, that's Gravy Bones, a deck with an entirely pedestrian win rate that many folks believe is the best deck in the format, and perhaps one of the most powerful Flesh and Blood decks we've ever seen, and frankly, I have to agree with them. Gravy Bones may be having his win rates altered by the fact that he is fiendishly difficult to play, but watch what the deck can do in the hands of Pro Tour top 8 competitors like these guys, and it's hard to argue against the fact that Necromancy is the best thing you can be doing in Flesh and Blood today. In the hands of Masters, bad matchups tend to dissipate very quickly, and good matchups are over before they even begin. And that is definitely a fair thing to consider. Even if a deck is strong only in the hands of like really good players or people who have really mastered it, that doesn't mean the deck like isn't broken and can't be like miserable to play against. So I can definitely see their thought process here that like once people get good enough with Gravy, that's when the overpowered level starts to really show. And I can definitely agree to that to an extent. I still do think Gravy has his weak points and is counterable. I don't think he's like the next Starvo, but I can definitely like see the logic there. Thus far, so much of Gravy Bones' power has been tied up in the fact that he has access to an almost indefatigable amount of gold. I think I said that word wrong. Gravy Bones plays solid turns with all manner of hand size and configurations, but those legitimately broken turns, they always involve cracking 3 to 4 gold and shaping a hand to be an opponent's worst nightmare. Gravy Bones needs to start working harder for his access to such bountiful treasure. The starting point here will be the ban of Golden Tipple in both red and yellow, but that may not be the end for Gravy Bones' adjustment. A huge benefit of Living Legend points change is the time granted to us in order to shape a new hero into a balanced and successful participant in Classic Constructed. Perhaps Saltwater Swell in all colors eventually proves to be too much. Maybe the next metagame evolves in a way where Gravy isn't good at all anymore, and Golden Tipple ultimately comes back to the deck. We are open to all possibilities, and are happy to have the time to explore this go-around. A word to the Marlin enjoyers out there. A Golden Tipple ban surely impacts Marlin as well. Not really as much, but, you know, it is important to note. But she is a deck that needs help regardless of the existence of Golden Tipple. That card brings being present in the card pool would only restrict our ability to build out her core identity over time, and it's near impossible to make other good gold generation cards in the pirate class with Gravy Bones already having access to Golden Tipple. And no, hero-specific bans cannot be the answer here. While bookkeeping around the first few such bans would be fine, the format would eventually become an impossible to remember web of ban exceptions. Marlin will have her kit built up over time with some small support in Super Slam, foreshadowing here, which is neat, and more significant support arriving in sets that follow. Remember, this is a hero whose ability reads so powerful that everyone convinced themselves 3 of a kind would be banned prior to her release. There is latent potential in Marlin's kit. Enjoy the ride that so many heroes before her have taken, and trust that someday she will find her place, even in the face of this setback. I really like that. I definitely agree. Gravy Bones, when he gets a lot of gold going, he can definitely just start steamrolling and just use so much of that value that it can just become too much to deal with. So I definitely agree there. And the line of play Tipple, activate Hook, and then threaten like 2 gold, like potential second gold is just too much. I honestly think Gravy's still going to be good. I think he's still going to be a deck you have to think about, but yeah, I don't know. It is interesting to see how this is going to shape out, because that is like a big part of their engine that's just going to be like gone. I like what's going to be the next way to generate gold? Is like Loan Shark going to be a thing next? Like, it's interesting that Saltwater Swell is still there, because I think with making gold harder to get, Saltwater Swell also decreases in power, which was a card a lot of people were talking about. But the main problem with it was once you played Swell, you had a bunch of extra resources, which you could just crack like 2 to 3 gold, and then just like basically turn 1 card into like two extra cards, basically, which too much. So yeah, they're addressing the main problem, which is when Gravy gets too much gold, and trying to make it harder for him to get to that point. But I also like that they're open to like kind of seeing how things play out and how the meta shifts here, because Gravy Bones is a uniquely difficult case. He's not like Aurora, where like anybody who picks him up can like play him easily. If like I just recently started trying to play Gravy Bones, and he's really hard. He's really difficult. So I definitely see the difficulty here. Plume of Evergrowth. From her creation, Verdance was always envisioned to be a battle mage, weaving arcane and physical damage in equal measure. In testing, though, it was clear that the numbers for such a strategy just didn't work. Pack enough arcane barrier and battle mage Verdance simply cannot deal enough damage over the course of a game to close out opponents. Thus, Rampant Growth Life was born. A combo kill was exactly what Verdance needed to find windows to win. While decomposing was still challenging, and the raw damage was simply not there, but with the addition of Burn Bear, and now especially Light Up the Leaves, the math has changed. It is becoming easier for Verdance to decompose, her chunk arcane damage is getting larger, and her tools will continue to evolve and improve as the time goes on. This means that it's time to take some points away from Verdance's endgame. While pure Rampant Growth Life kills purposely take a hit with the banning of Plume of Evergrowth, the addition to Light Up the Leaves is the thing that really mandates this ban. Returning a 6 arcane damage burn spell with Plume of Evergrowth left Stormstrider's kills feeling near arbitrary in the late game. By allocating power into other aspects of Verdance's gameplay, we hope to make the experience of playing against her more enjoyable, and potentially her matchup spread slightly less polarizing than it presently is. That absolutely makes a lot of sense. Light Up Leaves is definitely a card I'm personally worried about, being able to prevent Arcane, and also get 2 cards in your graveyard to decompose faster, or potentially grab it back with Plume is certainly like worrying. I didn't know if it was like if it was either Plume or like Felling that was like the main problem in Verdansk, but no, I can definitely see getting rid of Plume to make it harder to achieve those combo turns because they don't want to make another Kano. We all hate Kano. We all can't wait for him to leave. They don't want to make another deck where like it's just like it's only a matter of time before you die kind of thing. And being able to just push so much damage, especially with new spells, absolutely, definitely valid. I don't think this is going to change Verdansk too much, given how much the meta has shifted to a faster game plan. Plume of Evergrowth was used, but I still think she's going to be a dominant deck. I don't think it's going to hurt her that much. I still think she's going to be really strong. Talk a big game. At this juncture, we've taken on the feedback that if development believes that there's a dangerous deck with potential to operate outside of acceptable parameters, our players prefer we address the deck in advance of release. Sentiment broadly seemed to feel that we waited too long to ban Zephyr Needle, even though a sanctioned classic constructed game was never played with Needle Ira. Here we are trying to act with ample note. With the release of Super Slam, Talk a Big Game would allow a couple of loquacious... What is this word? What is this word? I guess language barrier, I don't speak New Zealandish. Heroes to run their mouth off a bit too much. In this case, we've chosen preemptive action. So, I'll be honest, I had to Google what this card was. I forgot this was a card in the game, but I can definitely see the thought process behind it. We are seeing in the reviled heroes that they're using a lot of hidden information. So, if you play a card like Talk a Big Game, and you name a bunch of might tokens, it kind of puts your opponent in a bit of one of those lose-lose situations where they either need to like overblock or like commit too much defense or take the hit and give your opponent a bunch of extra value through might tokens, which, you know, we obviously haven't seen this whole set, so I don't know if that is something that could be a problem, but I guess we'll see once Super Slam actually releases. But I appreciate that they're taking this preemptive action rather than being like, oh god, we're scared, and then being like, okay, now it's gone. Germinate. Finally, Germinate's back. Okay. Emblematic of our new approach to the ban and restricted management, we intend to return Germinate to Florian's card pool. We still believe Germinate and Everbloom Life might give Florian one of the best endgames in all of Flesh and Blood. Not with Fang around, baby, Fang's gonna be back! But with Grave Bones catching nerfs, a secondary predator for the heroes that looking to go extra deep into second and third cycle should prove to be a healthy thing for the metagame. We never wanted to see Florian removed from competitive viability, and it's clear that this current metagame already presents a challenge for the hero. We're willing to return some support his way with acknowledgement that Florian's pre-High Seas dominance led us to a bit of an overreaction. I will say, I love this. Without Germinate, Florian just felt really bad. He felt like a bad Guardian. I'll be honest, he just felt like a bad Guardian. And I honestly didn't think he was that bad, even before the Germinate ban. Like, he was definitely a big meta threat, but I don't think he was at the point where he was like unbeatable. Like he was not miserable to play against. I could be biased, but and I think that like I do appreciate that they took an overreaction, banning a bit too much rather than waiting for the meta to get like too messy. Mainly because like I feel like people would rather deal with a meta where the heroes are a little bit like too underpowered, or like the power level's brought down too much rather than the power level being jumped too much. Like, it's totally fair, and I do appreciate that they were like, you know what, Florian was actually fine, we're going to leave it, we overreacted, and brought it back. I do find it interesting because I do think, like, Assassins are still going to be a big threat in the metagame. There's definitely going to be a lot of changes, but I still think Assassins are going to have a place. I think Slippy's just too strong to not have a place in the metagame. But, that being said, if Slippy is strong, Florian having Germinate again could be what, brings Slippy, like, down to a lower level. Because Assassin's biggest, like, or hardest matchup was Earth Heroes for the longest time. Because it's like, okay, I have a bunch of defense reactions, and you're going to banish cards? Cool, I want to banish cards anyway. Double Trouble? Sure, take my Earth cards. Bring me closer to my Decomposed goal. I don't care. So yeah, no, having that like Germinate might bring Florian back, especially if Gravy Bones now has to hit and do a strategy where he has to build up gold in a different way that might be like less efficient, harder, and also with Golden Tipple, he's gonna have a hard time getting allies in the grave too, which is definitely gonna be. Oh, there's gonna be a lot of changes to Gravy Bones. I'm just thinking about it all now. It's hard to see where he's gonna be in the metagame. Like I'm not a Gravy Bones main, but And I do definitely think he's going to have a place. I think board state decks are always going to have a place in Flesh and Blood. No matter, like, it does not matter how bad. If they are bad, they're going to have a place just because, like by the nature of the deck. I think Gravebone's still going to be a thing. But I don't know. I think that it's really, like, this ban's really changed a lot of things, and it's really, like, it's really weird. I don't know. I think that, like, the next meta for a little while is going to be like pretty open with these bans. Like, Slippy's lost their best card, but is still very, very strong. Gravy's lost their main engine to get allies in the grave and generate gold, which, you know, yikes. But, like, is that yikes? Is that, like, is it gone now? Is he, like, is that it? I don't think that's it. Because, like, otherwise he still has a lot of powerful things at his disposal. Verdansk has lost a really big tool at their disposal, but not a tool that I feel they were using that much, in all honesty. Just because of how the meta has played out. And a previous meta threat is coming back, even with a hard Gravy Bones matchup. But could this Gravy Bones drop make FLORIAN good enough to go back to that dominant position? It's really hard to say. And I was actually going to talk about how I feel that Super Slam was actually not going to be as big of an impact on the metagame as I thought. Like, we saw that all the set is Guardians and Brutes, two classes that haven't really been doing much good in the metagame, and the fact that they're all brand new strategies gives the potential of, like, what Puffin and Marlin are, where, like, yeah, you have these cool new strategies, but you just don't have the card pool to support them. So I thought they were going to be like, all flops to Gravy Bones, but now that he's been hit pretty significantly, I don't know, my opinion's changed a little bit on that. I think that, like, now Super Slam might, like, be a much bigger meta threat than I was thinking for a while. I thought legitimately it was going to be just a dud, but no, this opens up a lot. I'm genuinely, and also the fact that, like, they had to ban Talk a Big Game means that there was something that happened in testing or development that showed that there was something that was really, really, really strong. I think it's going to be something to do with Lyeth. Lyeth's another hero that's I've been worried about, because with the 5 intellect, he's either going to be, like, there's a very fine line between him being absolutely busted and, like, so safe he's, like, Bolton tier. So, like, I don't know. I'm predicting, no, it's a Brute card. Is it a Brute card or Brute and Guardian card? It depends. If it was a Brute and Guardian card, it was Lyeth. That's my prediction. Yeah, I think it was Lyeth if it was a Brute and Guardian card. But yeah, no, I guess this is very much I don't know what's going to happen, and we kind of have to wait and see. But I'm always excited when there's an open meta and no one knows, and I don't know what's going to be good, because you know, we're coming back, Fang Gang. We're coming back. FLORIAN players, you guys enjoy your Germinates. You guys have your Germinates. We're gonna be coming back with our Fire Veins. You have your 1-card 5s. That's cute. 1-card 6. 1-card 7. 1-card however much. You watch out, FLORIAN mains. What do you guys think? Do you guys like this ban list? Do you guys dislike this ban list? Do you guys think they should have banned more? Should have banned less? Do you think I should have been banned? I don't fucking know. Let me know down below in the comment section. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.